All three are nice horses. All three can run. Claire de Lune has got the form to run a massive race. Wild Green gallop into this race was exceptional. Good enough for any 2-year-old to win a race of this nature. And then She's My World at home probably works better than all two of them. But she did get beat on debut. So let's see how she comes on from this run. But make no mistake, all three are of the highest level, and certainly whatever beats them will have to be very, very impressive. So looking forward to a good start to the day. She's in a very good space at the moment. I think this is her big season where she can stamp maybe her authority, but that has to be done on Saturday. She's got a lot going for her into this race, a lot of confidence. I brought her here last Friday. I couldn't bring her actually today. She's just too well. And I'm more concerned that she may just be uncontrollable. That's how well she is. You can expect a big run from her. I do think it could be the same horses again, like Ruskova, that type of horse fighting it out again. They're of a high level, but if I'm not going to be confident with Double Grand Slam, then when are you going to be confident? Take a lot of beating, to be honest, and just hope for her that she showcase what she's about, what she did last time, and that for me is the most important thing. Just that I've done my job well to present what is a very smart filly, and I hope I've done her proud in having her ready for this race. So race 3 is another little feature for fillies over a bit of ground. Lickety Splits is completely out of the weights, but you take our chances. I don't mind trying a filly in a race where she may earn some black type. So I think that's quite important, especially for breeders sending me horses. Give me that Pearl. If she gets the distance, I see she's quite short in the betting, but there is that doubt that she may not just get the distance, 2,000 meters. But being by the mare, Chestnut Pearls, Horse Chestnut, the Dam Sire, give me the green light. It's going to be a press. I do give a filly like Saatchi quite a bit of respect. I think the Stipes report last time said that she pulled the shoe, and I'm sure that might not have helped her. So I give a lot of healthy respect to her, and obviously Candice's filly. It's a very competitive race, but I do think the right horses do stand out in this race and should be hard to beat. So we get to the staying race, and I think I've got two very smart stayers here. They're horses that are quite competitive over even 2,000 meters, but they've been just had their little issues and haven't reached the season that I hope they would have. So we've sort of come to the staying races, which makes it very strong in this type of division. 2,800 Triple Time's got to be a huge runner. Go watch his previous run. A lot of people that are betting on Met Day, go watch the races on King's Plate Day. There were they narrowed the course by 4 meters, which caused a lot of horses not to get runs when they needed it. So this was one of those horses, Triple Time, Future Swing. On the basis of that run, he has to be a huge runner against these stayers, especially at the conditions of the race, where it's more like a weight for age terms. It takes up a few of those horses with those light weights. Makes it hard for them. These are the races that these horses wait for an entire year. So a lot of respect to them. Obviously, there's a few Joburg Raiders that you have to respect. Lovers of Rose, I felt there's been a couple runs where she should have won. She's had the weight, she's had the advantage. I do think the rider will suit her. She could be a horse to watch out for. But I do think that Triple Time and Mucho, if he comes and he's moving well, is going to take, also will be in the firing line, especially after his last run. He's coming on and give Mike to healthy respect here. So this is a very interesting race. It's a race, obviously, at 14 around the turn, where I think draws are going to play a big part here. Let it be said, if he overcomes the draw, he's got a huge weight advantage here in a way that he's a young horse, up and coming. He hasn't quite reached his rating yet. So a lot of respect goes to Let It Be Said. Great run last time. Going to come on from his previous outing. But some hard knockers here. The Grey King, I think, is beautifully placed in this race. Big run last time out. He's come on. I do think a mile might have been a little bit better for him. Same as Song to the Moon. I do think if it was a mile, they'd be bigger runners, but take nothing away from their current form. Certainly horses that could play a big part. Extremely competitive race. I do think we come here with a lot of ammo, but a lot of respect to some of the other horses in the race. It's a handicap and it's going to be tough. Makazole is a horse that has caught our eye at the moment in his work, but he's going to have to. A young horse with a rating that high against these horses, never going to be easy. Certainly a horse for punters to watch. Really doing well at home. Could be the upset, but it would take a mammoth effort. Tutufe is doing very little wrong. Last time, he can make it difficult for himself. If he gets the run of the race, certainly a horse that wouldn't surprise me if he won. But these races are very tough, and there are horses that you will make it very difficult for him. So this is a fantastic feature race. So Sidley, really in good form. Very interesting jockey choice, Gavin Lorena. When he phoned for the ride, you just say yes. He's riding at the top of his game, and any chance that this filly had has just improved with Gavin Lorena on. Certainly a horse for the quartets and trifectas. Summer Lily, I just hope it's not one run too many. She's been in all the races where it hasn't suited her. It's either been too short, or at weight terms she's had it tough to do. Here in this race with Grant on, can expect a big run. I think she could be the filly to beat. Respect to some of the other horses. I'm So Pretty, they get a little bit of weight, 52.5 for a young 3-year-old, but it's going to be tough against these older horses. World Sports Betting met. Bit of a span in the works, so 3-year-old running, 8 on 18, which certainly opens the race up and will certainly give the older horses something to think about. He's a young and up-and-coming youngster, but never easy. As much as everyone thinks, when you're going over 2,000 meters, it does change things. There's a race of not so much a turn of foot, but a race of where stamina comes into play, where I don't think he's going to be lacking in any of that, and certainly a deserved favourite for the race because he hasn't put a foot wrong yet. He's come on. All his races are come-on runs for probably this moment and the Derby. That's where we have played the season into being right at the right time. So here we are, doing really well at home. Will look amazing in the parade ring. Showcase a lot of quality from his father and mother. The track's been narrowed, which is something I haven't seen before. But obviously there's a bit of play to where the horses might want to run on the day. It's going to be very interesting. I think it's thrown a complete spanner in the works. It's very tight. As I said on King's Plate Day, we found there was quite a few horses were finding trouble, and that's something that's going to come into play come Met Day. We're going to have to work that out. I'm going to have to sit down with a few jocks and work out what the tactics are going to be. Another runner in the big race is Pakaya. He's a beautiful individual. He's been here before. Yes, tough ask, but on the strength of the older horses, he's a horse that has done what they've done, all of them. A moment in their career where they've played at the highest level. Pakaya is one of those horses. Go watch his last run. You want to see something incredible, go watch him in his last outing. He flew home, and I really believe that my horses that ran in that race, things didn't go our way, and they're certainly horses to follow. Talking about horses like that would be obviously Future Swing. Really unlucky. We all got bulked up here, up against the fence, and Triple Time was in the race. He came into the straight, went for inside run, couldn't get the run, tried to get another run, and literally went across the line with Richard standing up in the irons. Future Swing was another one trying to get through. In fact, Future Swing is the one that moved over a little bit, caused trouble for Triple Time. And then Future Swing couldn't get a run when he needed it. Being a stayer and a horse with stamina, it's very hard to gear him up again. So going to be very interesting on the day, and I certainly would like those horses a little bit forward, Future Swing, to ensure that we don't find too much trouble in the straight, because I think horses like that need every chance that they can get. So he's a dark horse future swing on his previous run. And with Grant FLING on, there's always that X factor about Grant that he can bring something to the table. So let's hope it'll be on Saturday. The other runners who's an interesting horse in the race is Magic Verse. Everyone said we were mad running him in the, well, except for Greg, they were mad running him in the Premiers. He almost won it. So all those horses are in the Met, so why shouldn't we? He's a horse that's got Aldo de Meyer, which certainly is one of the best riders here in the Western Cape, and he knows the track well. One good thing about Aldo is a guy you actually don't need to say anything to. He rides his race, and he's quite competent in that manner. A lot of the guys come from Joburg, and they don't even know anything about the horse, and sometimes for me that's a worry. Very interesting seeing the tractors on the grass, and they're doing a bit of a cut. So a lot of work's going to go, and I'm sure this track will be beautiful on Saturday, but it's going to be very interesting how it plays out. So Magic Verse, maybe a huge outsider in the race, but certainly a horse that you, not for the quartets and trifectas, you never know. It's in good form at home. I thought he was a very creditable run in the Lalmora King's Plate. He ran his usual type of race. Probably would have thought he could have run better with Snow Pilot over racing in front. I would have thought he could have finished in front of some of those horses. He's doing really well at home, and Cabello knows him. Last time in the Met he actually over raced, so if we can just get him to settle a little bit, and if they go slow, this horse comes into play. So very simple. If there's a good pace, other horses come into play. If they go slow in this year's Met, Royal Aussie comes alive, and it's going to be a big runner. The track looks, I've just been looking carefully, this track looks amazing. So these are all horses that they're not exposed yet, and certainly this is the race where they will all put up their hands, or sadly will not live up to their expectations. I've got a horse here, Sail the Sea, who has to give everyone weight, which concerned Richard a little bit. We got quite heavily penalized in our last outing, which means we have to give most of the field about 12 pounds, 6 kilos over this distance. May just cost him the race, but take nothing away from his ability. He's a lovely individual. With Grant FLING from a wide draw, if he overcomes it, he is a smart individual. The horses that galloped into this race, it was really impressive, and possibly one of our better gallops of the day was a horse called Regulation. He's Bulgarian's brother. He's very impressive in his last win. He does have a bit of a breathing issue, which if it doesn't worry him, I think he's the horse to beat. But it can easily become an issue. When he gets towards the end of a race, he takes a breath and he doesn't recover. So I'm hoping that he holds his breath for as long as he can, and if he does, he'll be a big runner. Native Ruler is an up-and-coming horse that may come a little early, but he is a nice type, same as Express Yourself. These are all 3-year-olds that will slowly filter into the divisions and be horses that are ones to watch. Dawn to Dusk was JP Select and is doing well at home. I just wonder if he's up to this type of 3-year-old crop. But he deserves his place, and it's going to be a very interesting race. Legal Counsel is doing well at home. I do think the draw is a big play here. It will help him. Obviously, these races over 14. Over a mile, you can get away from bad draws, but 1400 can really be a hard thing to overcome. So I think for punters, I like to think 10 is where I could draw the line. Everything inside of 10 with a good jockey. With a bad jockey, 7. It's as simple as that. So I do give Please Be True a big chance in this race on his last run. For punters, go watch his last run. If you feel that was a horse that was quite unlucky and a horse to follow here, Please Be True is your horse. The other horses in the race, a horse like Unicorn Alert, just the last couple times he's disappointed me a little bit. But I have tried different distances. I do think he is a horse that if he feels like dropping the hammer, he's certainly a horse that could improve. And will run his race. So certainly quartets and trifectas. This race, it's going to pay rockets, and the pool will be huge. So a horse that could easily run to a high level at any time is a horse Mented Manu. He is another young up-and-coming 3-year-old of mine. Brought him back in distance. I think it'll make a huge difference. He does make a little bit of a noise in a race. Back to 7 furlongs, I think he could be the dark horse of the race. So race 11, 1400 meters, very competitive, but certainly over 7 furlongs. Snow Pilot over here is a horse that I think is, in my mind, he's the best 7 furlong horse in the country, and even over a lot of time, not too many horses would beat him over 7 furlongs. Unfortunately, in the Longmore King's Plate, from a little bit of the wide draw, things didn't quite go our way. At about the 1,000, he took the bit and ran away with Richard. And obviously that last bit just cost him, which is going to happen, unfortunately, with the way he races and the type of horse he is. It's going to happen. So healthy respect to him in these sort of conditions. A horse like him very rarely does a race like this come along. So we're going to take full max of it. On a day like this, we love to compete in front of a crowd. So that's why he's running. Rapidash on the other side is in the race. He's been a little bit off form of late. He had quite a bit of racing in the winter. And I think he should have a come-on run about him and hopefully runs onto the money, but very competitive race. In the same race, I got Get Impressed. Probably the horse that I've placed the worst in the entire season. It just hasn't been the races that suits a horse that might not be group level and just a normal Pinnacle Plate. I just haven't been able to find those races for him. But I'm not worried about it because he's got a long career ahead of him, and he's a horse that I think just earmarked in the right time. Maybe on Saturday, Get Impressed could run a big race. The last race is a very interesting race. I've got some horses here that have come back from, the one was Unbaldi, came back from a wind up. He ran third on over a shorter distance, over 1200. Very interesting run in the race. I always like those horses that come back from a wind operation as being successful. They're horses to follow. You always hear a trainer saying, oh, it's won 3 in a row after it had the wind up. So here's a horse that I do think has to go into play. Scottish Kiss won his maiden so easily. I don't think it was probably one of the stronger races, but he really won well. Sean's always wanted to stick with him. And he's a horse that, through his temperament, is way behind where he may or should be. And that's something that I always respect. Candace got a lovely horse in here coming back in distance. I do think a horse like Tough Terrain last time, as I said, there were quite a few horses on King's Plate Day that were unlucky. This was one of them. Just couldn't get the run when he needed. With Grand Finicak over this distance, certainly a horse that you're going to have to put into everything. Even though it's one of the last few races, and a race that I might have horses quite wide in the betting, I really feel that this is a race that if things are going our way, so it's very simple. The day for us is either going to be a moment in my career, in my team's career, or it's going to be a moment to forget. So I think it's going to be one or the other. And if the day's going the way it is, and we hope, this certainly is a race that in the quartets, it's going to be bomb pools, go big, and play around with my horses. Whichever one you think is one for you, I think you can be quite confident that it'll arrive in the right condition. To African Prince with what I do like about Rachel, she's really a decent rider, and certainly 1.5 in a handicap makes a big difference. This horse has had 2 gallops. He's pretty fit, and he was quite a smart 2-year-old. That gave him ample time, gelded him. Let's hope that he could also come to play. I've put quite a few horses in here, and I'd be quite disappointed if it didn't come away with the win in somewhere here. But obviously, Richard has chosen a horse here, and that always has to be respected.